Good morning. Oh, going sideways and back in. So we're trying to multitask. Press live and
Mark.
put it in the hole at the same
No,
time.
you can't do that. Don't be crazy.
Well, I just did it, you know. It just proved a huge misconception.
Well, you can read and pee at the same time, so.
Oh, yes, well, yeah, I'm very good. You know. You can check BBC News, Facebook and Instagram all while on the toilet. That is definitely multitasking.
Definitely.
You know, they can't say that men can't multitask, that is for sure. You know? Yeah. What did you say? Oh, sorry. That's a different thing.
I'm sorry, I don't even understand the joke. It's a common problem.
It's a common problem. So obviously there's most important two words that my best man said. I should always remember.
Yesterday. You're right.
Yesterday.
Oh. No, that's not what he said.
He did.
He didn't say yesterday, you're right, he said.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yesterday, you're right.
Yesterday, you're right. Yeah.
I don't know how much you've applied that.
True. Good morning. This is Friday. This is usually when yesterday was fairly crazy, so we're going to be fairly sensible today. So, with it being Mental Health Awareness Week, done a couple of my lives in the training groups around that. One was quite practical about what actually happens in the body when you are stressed, under pressure, and talk about cortisol, the hormone that gets elevated, and what that kind of does, and then what your body then doesn't do because of cortisol. And then yesterday, in my other group, I actually was going to talk a little bit more about that, but ended up just talking about my kind of story with struggles and things like that. And one thing to kind of, I was trying to get to kind of some practical points within that. And one of the practical points was definitely communication, and a lot of the problems that I had and that were created were down to lack of communication, particularly with Hannah. And then probably similarly in terms of saying yesterday you're right, things like you really should talk to someone professional, as in a counsellor and things like that. I was always like, yes, that's a really good, I'll do that, I'll get onto that. And partly I didn't because, I said it yesterday evening, was that I thought it would probably mean I need to stop doing some things that at the time of, I wasn't necessarily prepared to give up at that point. I wasn't necessarily prepared to kind of look at some of the stuff directly and deal with it. And yeah, and so it kind of took it coming from different sources for me to say, Joel, that's actually really what I need to do. Which I can imagine, and you have said this, is quite frustrating for you, because in a sense it's just rude, really. You know, I've got this beautiful, lovely lady with lots of great ideas and wisdom, and then I just go, yeah, that's a good idea. And then don't do anything about it until somebody else says something.
Generally a bloke, right?
Yeah, I know it's true. It's generally a bloke. And yeah, I think for anyone really, you know, sometimes it's hard to take that advice from someone close to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it needs to be kind of presented in a I guess in a less emotional way. If Hannah wasn't my wife and she was advising me to do it, there wouldn't be that emotional connection to doing that with her. And even, well, definitely the position I was in at the time, it was kind of filtered through, in a sense, what's her agenda for it, even though there wasn't one, other than just me being better. And
happy husband, healthy marriage.
Yeah, exactly, all that sort of thing. But I think when you're in a kind of crazy place in yourself, that you're thinking, well, yeah, she just wants me to get to the place that she wants me to get to. It's not necessarily about me getting better. So I think all that was kind of in the background. But reality is, I should have been yesterday, you're right, and done something about it. Which kind of goes to the next part. As hard as it might be in the position you're in, if you're struggling with something around mental health or whatever, doing something action-wise is always is what you need to do, and I totally get it. I mean, not recently, years and years ago, this is, I just got to a point where I couldn't do anything other than get out of bed just about, go and feed my horse, and then go to work, and then go back to bed after that. And it was, I think I'd finished competing, so my horse was still going great, and my brother was competing on him. And I didn't ride him for 6 months because of that. And literally had every opportunity to do that. And so stuff had happened with me and my family, and things weren't ideal. And I'd been DJing pretty much full time, as well as keeping kind of a part-time job going. And the DJing had basically ground to a halt because the main place I did it at had closed. And yeah, just didn't feel like doing anything. So basically, that's undiagnosed depression, isn't it, really? So I get that you just can't get out of that. You can't get out of that. And I can't even remember what actually started to turn it around, to be honest. Because we're talking...
That's a long time ago.
20 years ago now.
Yeah.
It was that year after university, DJing full time. Oh, I turned it around, actually. I kind of, in a sense, just took my life in a different direction and went into restaurant management. And got really busy. Yeah, basically got really busy, and worked in a ridiculously busy motorway services restaurant, but with some great people, and did the Alan Partridge, lived in the Travelodge for 3 months, because that was kind of part of it, because it was, obviously I couldn't live at home how far away it was. It was initially it was a management programme, and then there were loads of us that were living in because it was such a big site, there was actually 5 or 6 of us on this programme, and then 4 or 5 of us moved into this house in Banbury, near to where the services were. We had a great time, and I think that's really what kind of got me out of it.
The thing is, though, I think, like, so when you are really struggling like that, you find ways to cope.
Yeah.
And that was a way to cope. Getting busy was a way to cope. And actually, sometimes we need coping mechanisms. Sometimes we need to have those things that kind of help us stay safe and protect us. But you don't then deal with the underlying issues, do you? And it kind of gets you out of it.
Yeah. But
you're then prone more to kind of go back into it because you've not dealt with the underlying issues.
I mean, I just think about it then when you're saying that, I think me being busy is kind of where someone else might turn to substances or whatever.
You're too much of a control freak for that.
Yeah, totally. So I've always been into sport and fitness, and I probably value how I look and feel physically way too much to go kind of full alcohol drugs route.
But that's a
Although we did
coping
drink
mechanism
a lot,
in and of itself.
And we shared the house down there.
That's a coping mechanism in and of itself, isn't it? Because and it's one of those things that can be a really healthy coping mechanism. Working out and eating well obviously is like a good thing, but also can quite easily tip into control. Can quite easily tip into more of an unhealthy coping mechanism, where you're using that, but you're not actually looking at the, your soul, like the inside bit, your emotions, and processing through the things that you need to process through, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
But it's like you were saying, though, about going to get counselling. I think at the time where I was saying to you about that, I just kept saying to myself, like, there's no point in him going until he's ready to go. So on the one hand, you want to, yes, you've got to kind of yes, doing something like going for counselling is a really good thing to do, but you kind of have to be in that place where you want to, even if it's really hard, even if it's so hard to go, like you want to, and like you were saying, actually there were some things that you didn't really want to stop, you didn't really want to let go of, and you knew that if you went for counselling they'd challenge you to let go of those things. And you had to get to a place where you were prepared, even just slightly, you're prepared to look at the option of letting go of those things.
Yeah, totally.
And so.
And, I've done the same. Can't make it big, read it all. But yeah, that's what I love, Keys to Freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only part way through it still. Talked about this before, but even just
because you started doing work in the morning instead of doing Keys to Freedom, babe.
True. But then I look at it, and actually, it is the process the counsellor took me through, and it's been good to kind of refresh that, reframe it in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
But it is that process, and the kind of one of the turning points in my counselling for me was actually when my counsel was more about posing questions and getting me to work it out, and he kind of realised I was quite geeky and would photocopy and print me out kind of diagrams and kind of these matrices of kind of where you are and stuff like that, which I really appreciated. And but one of the questions he asked me was, what are the consequences of you not changing? And from what we talked about, he knew that our relationship with Hannah had been under immense pressure. Relationship with my kids wasn't great at that time, or had been, and was better and was manageable, but more by effort than by actual change to a point. So that's a big question.
Motivation.
Yeah, that was the kind of motivation to really look at it and deal with it. And even then, it was still, more weeks and months, really. And some of it was...
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, what I'm going to have to let go of to get that. And, in a sense, kind of some strange things came up, we did a season in Ibiza DJing, and I love music and DJing, and that had been to get out of a crazy job situation that just wasn't right for our marriage at the time. And
all for you,
all for me. So 10 years later, but just as a kind of holiday before I finished teaching and started my fitness business, we went to Ibiza for the first time again in 10 years with the kids. They absolutely loved it. Yeah. We loved it. But we went to basically a party, early season party, because it was Easter, and a guy that I knew from when I'd been there had really grown his career there, done really, really well. He would then work with 3 other guys having this collective called Melon Bomb, and they were just doing an early season party. So basically, but only for people that lived in Ibiza, because they're the only people that are there that time of year. And we went to that, and it was great.
That was really cool.
Really cool.
It was right. Okay, so it's like a bar, but it's on the beach, right? So you can take the kids because you can be out on the beach. And there's quite a few people there with kids. Yeah. They just play around.
So they basically started at lunchtime and then carried on into the
keep them away from all the people smoking pot. It's fine.
It wasn't that many people.
I'm joking.
Quite respectable people. Yeah. It wasn't that. Saw a lady we used to work for there when we were cleaning villas when we were there, and that was really cool to see her after 10 years as well. But in this kind of process of moving on, I experienced for the first time in my life like genuine grief in the afterwards of what could have been. and we were staying in this nice little apartment, and I just had to sit on the balcony and wait and just process that. And I'd never kind of realised how much I kind of held on to that time. In a sense, I kind of put it on a bit of a pedestal, and never always kind of looked at what could have been aspects of it all that time. And then through the counselling or whatever, kind of transferred blame for that and it not going to where I thought it could go to Hannah.
I got pregnant, right? What can you do?
But it wasn't even about that.
I know.
I could have, especially knowing the things I know now about business and marketing and working smartly, not just hard. You know, could have been totally different when I came back.
Yeah, I know, but I think, you know, like, grief is a really funny thing, isn't it? Because we think that you grieve when you lose someone, which obviously you do.
Yeah.
But that's not just what grief is. Like, actually, you can grieve over the loss of anything. And, like, at the moment, there's a lot of people who are really will be going through a real process of grief because, you know, they're grieving time that they could have had with their loved ones, or a wedding that they weren't able to have yet.
Holidays they're really looking forward to.
You know,
booked over a year
not
ago,
being able to say goodbye to people properly that sadly people have lost during this time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different reasons that you grieve, and actually I think because we don't always recognise that, we don't give people, or we don't give ourselves the space to grieve lost situations or lost things. Because we think, oh, I should just get on with, like, it's just life, I should just get on with it. But actually it's really important to give yourself that space and that time to grieve, that space and that time to process. And actually, like, you know, you were saying about keys to freedom, obviously there's lots of, you know, different you know, counselling methods or kind of tools that you can use at home and that kind of thing, but it's about keeping on putting those things in place. Because stuff comes up, like you were saying, you know, that thing about grieving what could have been if we'd stayed in Ibiza, but that was 10 years later. Like, stuff can come up at any point, or you can kind of think that you've dealt with something and then years later or months later, and I think it's keeping on using the tools that you've got and reapplying them, rather than just thinking, oh, well, I've been for counselling now, or I've done this course, or whatever it is. And actually being, like, keeping a level of consistency, the same way you do with training. You know, with training your body, you keep a level of consistency, otherwise you know, move it or lose it, right? But we don't do that always with our emotions and our mental health. We kind of do something for a season and then we prioritise other stuff. Once we stop struggling really hard, often, and things feel like they're more on an even keel, we stop prioritising. But actually, we should be prioritising it when we're on an even keel, so that when we struggle, we've got the tools in place in advance that we can then put into practice.
Well, that's that Clive Woodward thing that I talk about a lot, of when things are going really well, that's when you need to kind of analyse what you're doing to keep it going really well. And then, in a sense, his thing was, if like a game got lost or, you know, knocked out of a tournament, play it with the rugby team, then that's where you just sack it off. Because you've probably done everything you can, and then it's just, in a sense, just gone wrong. So you just stop, take a breather.
But it's analysing stuff, but it's also putting stuff into place, because it's those, it's those consistent habits, isn't it?
Matching analogies up.
So, you know, consistent habits, you want to have consistent habits with working out, you want to have consistent habits with eating, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be the motivation that keeps you going, it's going to be the habits that keep you going, right? So the same with your emotional well-being and your mental health. If while things are good, you put in the habit or the daily practice or whatever you want to call it of journaling, or of having time in prayer or meditation, or stretching, or going for, you know, whatever it is, that it becomes like a daily practice, like breathing. You breathe in, you breathe out. So you have to breathe in the goodness so that you can then exhale, and that keeps your body working. And you have to, you have to kind of take in good stuff So you've got something to give out, and it should be this kind of daily practice of in and out and in and out. And otherwise what happens is we keep giving out, right? Because we have to, because life is busy. So we keep giving out. We're not taking anything in. So eventually we run out of stuff to give out. And then that's when you hit a wall. That's when you crash. And actually that can happen to anyone. Like, you can't look at somebody or people who struggle with their mental health and think that there's a level of weakness there.
No.
It is not. It can literally happen to anyone. And I think, you know, like, if anything, Mark is proof of that, because to anybody who would have looked at him, you know, he's strong, he's fit, he had a family who loved him.
Generally got a positive outlook.
Yeah, generally a positive person. Like, if you met him, he was always up for a laugh. You wouldn't have looked at him and thought, oh, he's going to be really struggling. But actually, you know, Mark, he got to a point where, I mean, he says that he struggled to get out of bed. I'd have to literally sometimes put my feet on his back and, you know, push him out. Come on, get up. So I think, like, just recognising we all have mental health in the same way we all have physical health, right? But we have to look after it. And that is, you know, necessary in the good times so that we're set up for the hard times.
Yeah. See, I should have listened in the first place, shouldn't I? Cool. So, I mean, hopefully that's been more positive than it has been kind of not, but yeah, I think talking about it is helpful and helpful to people who might think, oh, it's only me, or no one else is experiencing this. And you know, that's the kind of, I think that's the reason we have Mental Health Awareness Week. But also I think it needs things like kind of talking about habits and positive things to do to kind of, and hopefully simplify a little bit what you can do about it. And you know, when you're feeling great and feeling well, those things are quite easy, and obviously you know how hard that is to do those things when you're not feeling great. But kind of just those little habits, little actions to start moving forward. Hopefully they can kind of stack up, and the little small things work together to create a bigger whole of moving forward. So we're not, well, I say we're not experts. Your job, stuff like this
doesn't make me an expert.
Doesn't make you an expert.
Not at all.
And sometimes experience really helps. So any help and support that we can give, some of this stuff that's just pointing in the right direction of someone who's way better qualified than we are, then please ask. And
be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself, definitely. So I'm going to go and secure our tent that's still up, and one guy rope's definitely come off the tent, and it's blowing like a ship on the high seas.
It is.
It's crazy. Look how windy that is. That's mental. That's
I don't know if they can see that.
They will be able to see it now. If we turn it right now, look at that. With a little gust of wind comes, it's blowing everywhere. So I think one of the ropes has come off. So we're going to sort that out, and have a great day today. Bank holiday weekend. Woo-hoo. We'll go on tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We'll do boot camp as well tomorrow at 9:30. And then it's my sister's birthday on Sunday.
Yeah, it is.
So that's a virtual birthday for now.
For now. Until we can all meet up and celebrate all the birthdays at once.
Yes. Let's just do it in September for my birthday.
Okay, in September.
It's all about me.
Nice.
Guys, really good you had a birthday and that, but it's my birthday now. It won't be like that. Okay, have a good one.
See you.